There is a world and a wealth of skills, experience, knowledge, and perception that is lying around you right now. However, there are enormous amounts of barriers that have been given to you over the course of your life that stops you seeing them, and more importantly, stops you taking advantage of them and harnessing them to be able to do what you want to do. Now, what you want to do might be, as an organization, to be more successful at recruiting, retaining, and promoting individuals from around the world. What you want to do as an individual might be, I want to, as a volunteer, be more successful at helping people become a member of my local community. The end goal that you want to use it to isn't the main point. The main point is, from this training, how can I gain the understanding to be successful at dealing with the person I'm dealing with, despite the fact that they look at the world differently, that they hold a different set of values, that they speak a different language, and that they have a different priorities of the values in their life. In order to be successful in dealing with people who come from a different cultural background, essentially there are some key steps that you need to walk through. The first thing you need to do in order to be successful with someone who comes from a different culture is to realize how you think about culture in the first place. So that's what we're going to explore now, is this basic idea of what is culture. If I go to most people and I tell me about your culture, what they're automatically going to start doing is talking about the things that they quickly and easily identify with their own culture, and it tends to be the same list of things that people identify with their other culture, and that's fine. The things that they tend to list certainly are. However, if I say, okay, why do you do it differently from somewhere over there? Often we'll get this look like, I'm not really sure. What I'm going to do next is show you the two basic ideas that I think come together to make what culture is. We've been exploring the idea that in order to be successful dealing across cultures, we have to understand that thoughts drive actions, that we do what we do because we think how we think. The second part to therefore understanding it is realizing why it's so difficult to understand how we think about things is, by and large, how we think about things and go through our day needs to be subconscious. So in understanding how to be successful at dealing with people, the next step is to realize that when we're looking at the different dimensions of culture, if I ask you to identify your culture, you'll probably tell me the things that you do consciously and that are above the surface, that are highly visible. If you ever do any training around culture, you'll always see a picture of an iceberg. Because what they're talking about is, by and large, we tend to identify the visible dimensions of culture. If I see a woman, she's sitting down, she's got Southeast Asian features, she's wearing a beautiful silk hanbok, she is eating kimchi with a pair of chopsticks, and then she puts them down and starts writing in Hangul, I will quickly be able to identify her as being Korean in all likelihood. This is absolutely a part of her culture. But because it's part of her culture, therefore when I see those things, I will assume that, for example, she may not speak English as her first language, and there's a whole process that kicks in to adjust for the fact that there's going to be a cultural difference around these aspects. That's great. The challenge is, the vast majority of what we do is completely subconscious. It actually exists below the surface. And if I come to you and say, tell me about your culture, what you won't do is say, tell me about different times, relationships, senses of physical space, body language, teamwork, authority. These are all key aspects of how culture is different, and they play a crucial part in whether or not we're successful in dealing with someone who's culturally different. However, because it's not what you would think of if I asked you to tell me about your culture, it won't occur to you to kick in to do cultural management processes when you strike the difference, because they're subconscious for you, it's subconscious for them, neither of you realize they're a cultural thing, so neither of you realize there's anything to manage. One of the biggest learning points around dealing with people who come from different cultures is the difference is not the problem. The failure to manage the difference is the problem. And one of the first things that we've been talking about is to realize thoughts drive actions, and now that those thoughts are by and large subconscious, making it very difficult to realize what's going on.